So, hey everyone, welcome to the Game Dev Discussion Podcast. For those who haven't listened before, this is a podcast where I will sit down and speak to the wonderful people of the game industry and try to extract some knowledge about their journey getting into the industry, their experience within it, and hopefully we can all learn something from it. Today's guest is Tobias Koepp, games artist, stylized guru. How are you, dude?
Hi, how are you? I'm good.
So, dude, like I need to just say I've been a massive fan of yours since you posted your Kraken piece on Artstation. I've literally been following you since then. Like, you're one of my favourite sort of stylized artists. You have a really cool sort of nuance to your work. So I've been really looking forward to get you on because I originally got into stylized art through you. Like when I first got into sort of ZBrush and all this sort of stuff was through your work. So yeah, it's super exciting to get you on, and also it's so cool to see you work on Spyro. Like one of my childhood things. It's cool to see you get to have a chance to work on that. If it's cool with you, I'd like to start there. To be honest, how did that come about? Because it seemed like it was almost like a freelance project from the outside looking in. Can you just tell us about how you got into it and like what it was like working on something like that?
I can't really how did I get into it? It was really random. I was just approached by them or by the art director who was like, "Hey, we like your work. Are you free to do some work?" And I was just between jobs and had time and like also needed work. And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll listen to like what it is I have to do." And then it's like, "Yeah, it's Spyro, by the way." I'm like, what?
You literally headhunted. It was just they just approached you, right? Like, dude, we love your work.
They like what I did, and I was like, hey, we need someone to stylize environments. I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. I can do that. And they were like, yeah, it's Spyro. And I was like, what? I played Spyro when I was a kid, and left like my PlayStation on with a memory card in because no, I didn't have a memory card, so I had to leave the PlayStation and all that stuff. So it was really funny.
Oh man, that's so sick.
Work with that. And there were like so many cool people, like from like so many freelancers on there, and like names that I knew and never like worked with. So it was really cool.
Was it all remote then? You just all remote work?
Yeah.
Was there much pressure? Like, was there much pressure for you? Like, so I'm just imagining like Spyro. You like you said, you grew up playing that game. Was there like, oh shit, I'm working on Spyro. I've got to do this right. Like, was there much of that going through your head while you're working on it?
Oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. It was so much fun, but also like there were so many people like doing so much great work that you were like, oh shit, I have to like step up and also do a good job. And I think pressure was more like time pressure because they had so many levels to do, and it was crazy.
Was it hard, because, okay, so something with stylized art, and this is probably one of the reasons I quite enjoy it, is on face value, it's stylized, whatever, but like, there's so many nuances to stylized art, like one tiny change in your process, like, can make it look completely different. Was it hard, like, aligning across multiple levels, that art style? Was that difficult, or did it come quite naturally?
I think it's difficult for them to control that because like I think every artist, especially if you work with so many from the outside, have kind of their own little style or like thing they do, and then just art directing that into like this thing that looks like the same across every other artist's work is probably a bit difficult. So I guess we had to adapt a bit, and then I used a lot of like assets from other artists and just did the world building and some of the levels and just trying to unify everything.
Yeah. How many people did you? So like, how many artists would you contributed, say, to one level you worked on?
Not so many. Like I did 2 levels pretty much. Like I've built them myself, but then that means that like there's a concept artist doing like paint overs for you or giving you the initial concept, and then there's another artist working on a similar level that you talk to and then build it, like borrow assets or send assets over. So like you had kind of ownership over one level, but you were like collaborating all across the board.
That's sick. Well, so like when you decided you wanted to get into game art, was it from the get-go you wanted to get into stylized art, or is it you were still, how did you end up being Tobias, the guy that's renowned for killer stylized art, to the point where the guys who are remaking Spyro approach you? How did that come about? Like, what got you into the stylized side of the art?
I guess, I don't know, it's like just personal taste. So all I know, like, I always like those like animated movies or like stylized games. I've always been more drawn to that. So I think just the taste is like, that's what I wanted to play and also what I wanted to work on.
What games was it? Like, growing up, what games were they, them stylized ones that influenced you? So Spyro is one of them, I'm guessing.
Spyro is one of them. I mean, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
I never had it myself, but I played it like at friends, or like any Mario game or like all these Nintendo games. So like when you grow up with that, like I think that's where like my style or like taste comes from.
Mm-hmm. That's coming on to like your style and taste. A bit of advice I had actually is from when I first joined the Empire. I had it in the Empire. You can get like portfolio reviews, and like I think it's like 3 years ago now, 2 years ago. A really good bit of advice I got was tailor your portfolio to the studio you want to work for, which is really sound advice, and it really helped me move on. Now, with stylized art, because you've obviously a small tweak in what you're doing radically changes the end product of your style. Do you ever bear that in mind when you're working, or do you have like do you work your art towards the studio you want to work for, or is it just this is my style and take it or leave it? Like, does that go through your head at all when you're working?
I think, I mean, it's of course cool if you tailor your portfolio to the studio you want to work at, but then what if you don't get the job there?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for stylized, it's always, maybe it's a bit hard to like find the job that you want, or it's hard to find a job that does stylized work. Depends on where you are, because a lot of games that do stylized are, for example, mobile, and maybe that's not what you want to do. And then there's maybe more opportunities if you want to do realistic, and then you do that kind of thing. But I would say even for stylized, if you go a bit broader, then you have more chances than if the studio you want to work at turns you down. You can still like go somewhere else.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, to be fair, dude, you've got pretty broad set of, I'm just like flicking through. I think it's linked. I'll just link it in the Twitch chat, because I'm just looking through your Artstation, and it's each of your dioramas. So like your Aztec scene has like a very certain feel. It's really high contrast. It's really nice. And then you go to like your Kraken attack one, and like the whole thing, although it's amazing art as well, it's a really dynamic scene. The way you've shot in, all the angles you've used, you gave that real sense of chaos. Like, when you're creating these dioramas, do you have like a goal in mind, what you want to get out of it? Is it like, right, with this scene I want to accomplish this, and this, or is it just I want to make this scene, this subject matter is pretty cool, let's just go? Like, how do you approach a new project like that?
I don't know, basically it's like, I want to look cool, and so I'm like looking for this angle that looks cool, and then I'm like, okay, if it's just like a screenshot, like if it's not for a game or anything, then I'm just like, okay, cool, I make this screenshot or this angle look really nice. And then I find a few of those spots and then dress up the environment a bit more, like from these angles.
And you don't go in with like I don't want to say a checklist, but like an end goal to get out of it, like something quite a tangible goal. So like, say for example, the scene I'm working on at the moment, my tangible goal is I want to get quicker at propping and work on my lighting skills. Is yours more just make a kick-ass looking scene? Like that's
no. I mean, usually there's some sort of goal. Like I've been working very slowly on a scene where I was like, cool, I want to like learn a bit more substance design, so make the scene, and then like I try to make my materials and there, or like I've made a scene where it's like, okay, now I really look into how the lighting works and how the light making works. So there's always usually one thing that I want to get better at if I start something.
Yeah, I have to say, by the way, love the substance materials. Absolutely love. I mean, I love stylized substance materials anyway.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I know, I love yours too.
I mean, there's something we were talking about actually in the chat about a week or a half ago. I was like, the one thing I really like about your Substance, especially your most recent one, the beach one, is it feels like your type of stylized. Like, if that makes sense, like you have a character to your artwork, which is probably one of the reasons I've stuck around following you. But I felt like that carried over in your Substance art, which is super happy to see. So when I first saw you post them, I was like, oh, I really hope he keeps like the stylized going, like, because that's what I followed you for. And to see that carry on and get better in your Substance work, I'm like, oh, it's so sick. Like, for as a I'm fanboying out a little bit, but like seeing that carry through is so cool.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I was like, okay, I want to learn something new in Substance, like a total different way of working, and then I've done these tutorials, and like you would start and then make like, I don't know, like a brick wall or something. I was like, don't really like this, and then I tried to just make the stuff I usually do and try to find ways, and like learning so much along the way, and it's so much fun. And just, I mean, it's just a tool, so if you can still be an artist with it, or like try to do the stuff you want to do, or you like your style. So it's really awesome.
Is there anything that's really impressed you about Substance? Is there anything you were like, okay, I could really, really gravitate towards this, or is it like it's just a really cool tool to work with in general? Is there an aspect of it you really like?
Well, I'm still like, so I'm like, when I want to just have a slider and just change the amount of rocks or something, and then everything reacts to it, I'm like, what? This is so cool. And like normally before I would like sculpt a texture, for example, like if I wanted like a stylized rock wall or something, like, okay, this is it. I will never be able to change this. Maybe the color, and that's it. And now it's like you can do anything.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've really liked about it. Is it's like, you're doing like a brick wall pattern. It's like, oh, we don't want bricks to be rectangular. Let's make them like hexagonal. It's like, yeah, I could do that in like 2 seconds.
Exactly. So before would be a nightmare.
What so just to touch on like your last material, you went through the Josh Lynch mentorship scheme.
Yeah.
What's it like? So you obviously you were discovering Substance Designer through tutorials and your own experimentation. Did talking to a vet like Josh like straighten out a few things for you, or how did that affect the way you're looking at Substance Designer going through that mentorship thing?
Yeah, pretty much. So I didn't want to do it right away because I was like, okay, I can probably get started with like tutorials and also trying out some stuff on my own, but then I don't really do it professionally that much. So I was like, okay, how do people who actually work with this on a daily basis, how do they use the program? Is it different from the way I do it, or do I have to do anything different? So I was really interested in like seeing other workflows than mine, and like how can I do things better or more efficient. So I was really interested in that. It was super helpful.
I mean, from that knowledge you got from there, like, do you think you're definitely going to kick on and keep churning out some more Substance materials, or like you're like, right, I know what I need to know now, and I'm just going to apply that knowledge to a scene rather than do the materials? Like, do you have any plans for what the next project is?
I probably do a few more, but the thing is, it's so satisfying. You make one and it's done. So like, if you do environments for fun or like in your free time, and they take forever, and so I really like sometimes just making one material and then, okay, it's over, I can stop now. And with doing environments, it's never the case.
I mean, I think that's something me and Ben spoke about in the first podcast. Is like, they're sort of like small self-contained projects. Like I said, the environment could really go on when you start getting into it. You get these nice little projects which are like, they're sort of over and done in a really short time.
And it's like, I'm still learning from it. So for me, every time I use this program, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I didn't know I could do this. So it's really, I'm kind of stuck in this for a bit, I think.
You think you'll pick up something like Alchemist to do so? Because I do think I'd love to see Alchemist blended with some of your like traditional stylized sculpts, then blended with Alchemist. I mean, is it something you plan to pick up, or like even thought about, or are you like, nah, I'm too busy with Substance right now, I ain't got time to think about Alchemist?
I haven't really thought about it. I guess I'm too busy with Substance. I haven't quite understood or had a close enough look at Alchemist yet. It looks really cool, but can I still do the things I want to do? I'm not sure.
Actually, just switching gear to, since we're talking about software, so ZBrush, I've got to ask, when you first got into stylized art in ZBrush, Did you start by downloading the ore pack instantly? The ore brush set.
No, I think when I started,
that's what the first thing I did. Right, I was like, every person I spoke to about Stylized, I was like, oh, go get the ore pack and start there. And I'm like, oh, okay.
No, I think it was a bit later. But I think when I started ZBrush, it was in school, where our first course with ZBrush was like, hey, make an entire comic book character, and that was really hard, and I hated it. Oops.
That's insane. Your first course in like ZBrush, they just said make a character.
Yeah, and also like learning the program making character, and I sucked. I never wanted to use it.
Do you think that put you off, and that's what probably drove you towards like environment art more? Is just you had like, I don't really like characters, I like the environments. Like, is that what you think?
Yeah, I think I knew that like before, but it's like some stuff you have to do. Like it was like part of uni. So here's a character course, and you do it, and you have to do it. So I was more focused on the environment, so I just did my thing there.
That's cool. I got an interesting question for you. Someone I spoke to some of my friends about, because they're also into that sort of stylized type of art, and I get some really weird answers to this question. So like past games, realistic games, so, you know, like sort of I don't know, MGS4 or whatever. If you could take like one of the sort of classic big games, which is in a more realistic art style, which one do you think you'd like to like work on in a remaster to turn into like your stylized type of art?
Oh, that's a really good question. So one of my favorite games is probably like any Burnout game, like like those racing games, and having that like super stylized with like explosions kind of stuff, and the crashing, that could be really cool.
All the cars like Hot Wheels cars, or like them graffiti with the big gigantic back wheels, and oh dude, that'd be so sick.
So that could be fun.
I'd love to see, like, I've always said this, I'd love to see a super stylized version of like Master Chief or something.
Oh, that could also be cool, yeah.
But what other games, so like get past like the 90s sort of early generation games, is there any, what games have sort of been your go-tos over the past like 5-6 years? What ones have like inspired you recently?
Recently, so like from an art style, I really like Overwatch, for example. I think that's a really good like art direction, and like I love the environments. I'm always super happy like a new map coming out. I would just go there alone, don't play with anyone, and just go on the map and look at it.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's so fun.
It's one of the things. It's hard though, isn't it? Because like with Overwatch, I find it like, well, with stylized art in general, it's like you do one brush too far. Because to be fair, that's the style of the art. Like in terms of the sculpts and stuff, they're quite simple sculpts. Like all the designs and stuff, they're just clean. They're really clean, and I found Overwatch, every time I've ever tried to attempt to like, you know, do something in the vein of Overwatch, you go that step too far when you're doing all the like, you know.
Oh yeah, you see it immediately.
It's such a difficult art style, I think, to nail down.
But it's also really like, if the lighting is also so good. It's just really like in general. It's like what you say. It looks simple, but I think it's not doing that is really hard. I think
anything simple. I think the problem with simple stuff is it's very obvious. There's nowhere to hide. Like if you've got a super complicated realistic scene, you can hide quite a lot in, you know, like fog or details or whatever. But with a stylized scene which is like super clean and simple, I think you've got nowhere to hide. Like it will stand out if you don't do it right.
Yeah,
that's why I think it's such a difficult art style to nail down.
That's true.
Favorite character
in Overwatch?
Yeah,
I play Symmetra the most.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I've had to quit Overwatch. I got too angry at it. I'm too competitive.
No, I don't know. Like when I play with my friends, it's super fun.
You ever like consider like doing like a fan art like so something like so one of the things I like about Overwatch is, you know, like the design of the environment. So like the Egyptian scene, it's like it's got them sci-fi elements like suggested.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I'd love to see like fan art where people are taking traditional stylized scenes. So like if I'm just looking at your work, for example, the Aztec scene or your pirate scene, and you just suggest the Overwatch universe in it, that'd be super cool, man.
Yeah, I was starting like a scene which I kind of used my hometown in Germany as like the base, and then trying to do it a bit Overwatchy style. But
I
then I
remember
got
that.
more into substance. Huh?
I remember that. I love that scene.
Yeah, but that's kind of like I'm doing too much substance stuff at the moment. I haven't really worked on it much, but it's like a project I'm kind of working on very slowly on the side.
Yeah. Do you ever does it ever go through your mind to try something not stylized? I don't know, because this is how I've talked to a few artists who are sort of in that stylized vein, and I'm like, oh, do you ever consider doing like the realistic stuff just for a change of pace? And they're like, it just doesn't interest me. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. So I was curious, what's your take on it? Is it a case of it doesn't interest you, or is it something you consider?
Yeah, same. It doesn't really interest me. Like I have super mad respect for it, and I love it. Like seeing like all the super detailed environments and characters, and I love playing those games. But it's not so much fun for me, I guess.
Yeah, you like. I'm guessing
Like
you
if I
enjoy
had
the sculpt
to,
stage.
I think there's a difference. Like if I had to model it, I've done like I had jobs where I did that, and I was like, yeah, it's super nice. I learned so much, but I guess I like the stylized modeling more. But like if it would come to environment art, like building a level with those assets, that would still be super fun. So I'm quite open to that. But like if you look at my stuff, it's like all stylized. So uh, I would probably keep doing that.
That's fair enough. It's just curious because I've like when I've spoken to people about it in the past, I get a variety of answers. So I was just curious to see your take, and it's what a few of them have said before. It's just a case of not being interested rather than, you know. Um, do you play many MOBA games? So the League of Legends and the Dotas, because it's weird. Your art style, like, it's a lot in the silhouettes. I see a lot of your detail, like the silhouettes and the 3D model. Like that's where your style comes through.
I played some Heroes of the Storm like
Yeah, that's a
years,
good example.
couple like years ago or something, like a lot. But not so much recently, no.
I'm interested because that's something I do find really weird. Like I can't really put my finger on it, but like I use League of Legends as the example.
Yeah.
In their detail, a lot of it's all in their like in their color, if that makes sense. Like so looking through your scenes, like just as thumbnails, like all the information and all the style comes through in the broader design and the you know all the macro shapes. Whereas like League of Legends is weird. It's not in the micro or the macro detail. It's like it's in color where all the stylized comes out. I don't know if you had any opinion on that or anything, because it's like it's so weird. I can't put my finger on it, like how to describe it. It's just its own thing almost.
Yeah, I think this art style is like super strong. I remember when they were like changing the entire map and did this whole like revamp of the style a bit, and that was super interesting. But I haven't like played it in a while, so I don't really remember.
That art revamp was so good. I mean, to be fair,
Yeah.
I felt like it was treading a bit close. It almost tread too close to Dota. I don't think it has, but you could definitely see a shift there. I always wanted to like doing a stylized like League of Legends or Dota map, like just because they've got such a distinct art style. Same for Heroes of the Storm as well, like because obviously you're looking at the characters from so far away, and all the environment, like all the detail has to be so broad. You can't really get in and do crazy detail because you just don't get the chance to see it like that.
Yeah, the camera angle, and then like the characters like as big as a tree and stuff. So it's quite interesting with the size differences of stuff.
Also in the breakdowns as well, because they do like I saw a breakdown where like everything they make they have to do like the FFD warp on, so that looking down on stuff like you can actually see the detail. Because if you leave it normal, you just don't see anything.
Which one was that?
I think it was the Heroes of the Storm. They had to like all of the turrets. They had to they modelled and made, and then they put FFD modifier on, so that like.
Oh yeah, okay, FFD. Now I know that's from like Max, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to learn Blender and like get away from Max, but I'm being dragged back in slowly.
Right. Oh yeah, they taper everything, so because of the top-down camera.
What's your what modeling package is it you use? Just out of curiosity.
So learned or started with Maya, so this is like where most of my knowledge is. But I've done others too. I don't like. I just because of a habit, it was always Maya.
Yeah, it's hard to break out of, man. Like I said, I'm trying to do it at the moment, and I'm failing miserably. But, I'm trying to pick up Blender, and the guys in the Empire are being great in terms of trying to teach me. But
nice.
It's so hard to break like all the muscle memory in that.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you spend the majority? So just ignoring substance for now, because I know that's what you're sort of into at the moment. But you're like your bread and butter is the stylized stuff. I'm guessing you spend the majority of your time in ZBrush. Correct?
Yeah.
Is there anything like I always find it interesting, people who love like a certain software, what would you like to see from ZBrush? What would be like the step forward for you? Like is there a feature you like to see them develop, or something you want them to fix? What would you need to see from ZBrush to like improve it for you?
I want it on the iPad with the Apple Pencil.
Oh god, that'd be so good.
And I have two like big gigantic wishes from ZBrush. Like that's the first one, and the second one I want it also in VR.
Oh my god!
Like the same thing.
This
but then
guy with the modern stuff.
I don't know how, but it would be cool.
Oh man, the iPad would be insane. I remember when I got one for my wife as an anniversary present, and I was like, iPad, I'm not going to draw on that. I left it here. She was like, Alex, you need to seriously have a look at this. I was like, so I went and had a little dab, and I was like, holy shit. I mean, they've really done a good job with that iPad. Like, Coral Paint and that is so good. I'd love to see software make its way to it, because they're getting pretty powerful as well, man. Like,
yeah, exactly. I think it probably works. I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but I mean, it will be super cool.
I think, what do you reckon, like 2 mil polys before your iPad like burns in your hand?
Yeah, just make something that runs. I don't know.
God, that'd be so sick. I would literally. I'm like, oh. No wonder the iPad as well.
For stuff, right? 2 million. Why not?
It'd be, in fact, most 3D software. I think the only 3D software I wouldn't want to probably use on an iPad is stuff like the modeling packages. But like all of them, like Designer. I mean, someone just mentioned in the chat, Designer would be sick. The Substance Painter, that would be sick. Like ZBrush, that'd be insane. What do you mean by VR? How do you mean VR?
I think there's like VR sculpting software, or like Medium or something is in VR already. So I would like, cool, can I have ZBrush? Like all my, like everything I can do in there, just in VR would be nice.
So it's closer to like actual clay sculpting rather than using a pen and a tablet.
Yeah, there's I think you can already have like your motion controllers in VR, and then you can spin around the model, walk around the model, and just sculpt and paint.
Do you do any like live, like, you know, actual real life sculpting or anything like that? Just out of curiosity, if you do the VR, I can imagine like if you can VR sculpt, I imagine you'll have somewhat competent skills in like live sculpting.
I've never tried.
Give it a go, man. I reckon you'd be good at it. I reckon it'd be something you'd probably take up quite naturally.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, anyway. I wouldn't even know what to do. Like, I'm really bad with making like characters, so I would have to make like a rock or something.
You'd have to go making like your chest from your Kraken scene.
Oh yeah, maybe something like that.
Dude, that's what I'm telling you. That is still to this day my favorite design of a treasure chest I've seen.
Yeah, I kind of want to like do that again one day, because we're old already, and I would like to like see how it would look if I would do it today. Because I really like that one too. Like
just a complete like just a update, or do you want to redesign it a little bit? Yeah,
because I think with that one, I'm not even sure. I think I haven't even used Substance Painter. I think it was 3D code.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been a while, but I think it was 3D code. Like the entire Kraken scene was like 3D code. I didn't know Substance Painter then yet.
Dude, you could actually probably do some sick stuff. Like, can you imagine making? I'm just looking at the Kraken scene at the moment. Like a substance material for the planks of wood, substance material for the beams of wood, a material for the windows, and a material for the gold. Like you could, you're like newfound wizardry in like substance designer. You could create some crazy stuff with it.
Yeah, it's actually a good idea.
I'd love to see what you'd do with that. You'd kill it. And then you got the sea as well. You got the sea you could do stuff with. Some crazy materials for ocean scenes. Absolutely insane. So, curiosity, I've got to ask. It's a bit topical. If you don't want to answer, feel free. Sonic.
Ooh.
Have you seen the trailer?
I have seen the trailer, yes.
What are your thoughts?
A bit, not good.
So not a good word to say about it, basically.
So, I don't know, it's I've seen so many memes and paintovers on the internet already, like, they all look better. But, you never know how much these decisions got made. There's probably a reason for everything.
I don't see a reason behind this one, man. Literally, I saw the paint over where they've took the original Sonic, like with shape of his eyes, and just gave him fur like they did with Pikachu. And I'm like, that is literally, why did nobody do that? Like, somebody had to okay that design and go, yeah, I really like this. This is a really good direction for Sonic. I mean, I see so many people comment and tweet like at Paramount Pictures like, dude, I'll redesign and re-rig and reanimate all of Sonic for you for free. Just please let us fix it. I love seeing artists' reaction to that. Like, some of the paintovers are pretty sick on Twitter though, like some absolutely nuts things.
Yeah, but then I'm like, okay, then the Pikachu movie, I'm totally sold on that one.
Oh god, it looks so good. Like, I can't believe how much of a shock it was to hear Ryan Reynolds. I was literally like, I was seeing the trailer and I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. It's like a moody thing.
Yeah, I'm still not used to that, but I'm like, okay, I'm okay with it. Why not? It seems like it's gonna be that kind of movie.
Do you see do you just hear Deadpool in your head whenever you see him?
Yes.
This literally, that's exactly what happened. As soon as I saw like him pop up and he spoke, and I was like, holy shit, is this Deadpool? Is this like a troll? Is this like a Deadpool trailer but they're hiding behind Pikachu? Like, that was insane.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna watch it. The Sonic movie, I don't know.
Do you ever consider like the film side? I always wonder this about game artists, because you have the skill set. So like most game artists will have some sort of skill set where will transition into other industries. Do you ever consider like film industry as a viable pathway for you, or is it like just, again, it's not even across the theatre of your imagination?
No, I think I've thought about it sometimes when like I had these moments like, oh man, I would really like to work like on an animated movie or something. But then I think I would probably miss, like, because with games it's so interactive. Like when you make an environment, there's like you can interact with things, go travel through the thing as the player, and experience totally different than like in the movies. In the movies, everything is framed and the perfect shot, and I think I would miss like that freedom of like exploring stuff also as an artist.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So you like the little details you'd be able to hide into scenes and let players figure out.
Yeah, or just looking around. You can't do that. Like in a movie, it's like, okay, this shot, it has to look like this, and then it's like, okay, I built that for you. But I don't know. I've never done it, so maybe it's different.
No, I know what you mean. Like you don't have the chance to discover and figure out for yourself. You have to you get shown something. You don't necessarily find out for yourself.
Yeah, but then I never worked in that industry, so I would be curious, but I think not at this time.
No, I get what you mean. That makes sense to me. That definitely makes sense. The only thing I think I like about game art is I love the idea of just like playing games from like, as an artist, playing games and trying to find hidden Easter eggs. So like, we were in the Empire chat yesterday and we're talking about the poly count, the green tooth thing, the poly count symbol. We're just like, the guys were posting a thread of just like all the hidden references in games where they snuck him in, and I was like, oh god, this is so cool. So like, playing from an artist's point of view, that's where all like the exploration is like, oh, I wonder where the Easter eggs are hidden, like, and where artists have like dropped their little bits of information. That's the bit I find quite interesting. Like from a player point of view, I mean, not as a not production point of view.
Yeah, I haven't I don't think I've snuck in anything yet, but I should maybe. Maybe not that.
You need to get something. You've got like, you're sculpting like rocks and stuff, man. Like you can just sneak a little, like, someone carving something into a rock.
Yeah, maybe I should do that.
TK was here, 2K19.
Yeah, that's probably if you work on a city scene and you print your name on like a shop or something, and no one will know.
Tobias TVs or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I always get daunted by like the bigger scenes. Like, I think with stylized stuff, you can speed up the workflow of the larger scenes because a lot of the like variation tends to be in the colors and stuff. But I don't know how like big cities scare me. Like in terms of the idea of just creating them. Have you actually? I was just curious. Have you looked into Houdini for stylized stuff at all, or even thought about it?
Not yet. I've worked with it. Like also again, like there was like a module in like school where we like were introduced to like modeling in Houdini. But now that I like did all this like substance thing and like this node-based working and like it's kind of procedural, I'm like, yeah, maybe Houdini's quite cool.
Dude,
like to have a look at it again.
After Din blew my mind when he was like just sort of going, look, this is the potential of what you could do. And he's like on his podcast, I think it's like episode 4. Episode 3. He literally like he was like, you could do this and then this and then this and then this, and I was just like, my mind was just melting. So now I'm just talking to as many people as I can about how have you thought of how you could use Houdini and see what they say. Because I think there's some crazy stuff you could do with the stylized aspect.
Yeah, I'm super like if you see like all these videos how they like do all these procedural systems and they're like, this is so cool. Like even like for environments especially, I think it's probably a super awesome skill to have.
You lose the something someone's one of the guys at the office said was when he's messing with substance design now, he doesn't feel like a traditional artist anymore. He feels like he's like almost this technical / programmer type artist, and it's just the way his mind works. Being the fact that you're a super like traditional stylized guy, do you feel like that when you're doing your substance materials, or is it still just feel as organic and as traditional as anything else?
I can understand why they would say that, but I think maybe it's not as organic because I think the workflow is just so different. Like you connect nodes, which is like probably not the most artistic thing to do. But then I guess like depending on the kind of artist you are, you get a different outcome. Because if like I don't know if someone touches this who's not an artist or like does something completely different usually, then I think you would get a different outcome. Because it's still like you make decisions based on like the style or your taste. So I think you're still an artist using that program.
Yeah. And you think you don't think it will move like so? The stylized materials were so there's a guy I always forget his name. It's Andrew, someone who takes ZBrush sculpts and takes them into substance.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, you know the guy I'm on about.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the pinnacle of it in terms of using them 2 pieces of kit. Something the same guy mentioned at the office was the fact that you can achieve that look easier and easier as people understand it in substance, and it's sort of removing that skill set from material creation. If that makes sense. So
yeah.
like, right, because in production anyway, like I think we were speaking about it off air. It's like I make a sick ass brick wall, and then your art director comes along and goes, "Actually, I want them bricks to be shaped like this." In ZBrush, you have to go back and resculpt all that, and that's a nightmare. Whereas substance, you obviously just tweak a few nodes. Do you think certain skill sets will be less valuable as we move forward, because the procedural stuff is taken over quite heavily? Do you see them skill sets being not forgotten? I don't want to say forgotten because you're always going to need them, but becoming less prominent in stylized games?
I mean, maybe. So I think there's probably still a use, but I think the kind of need for certain things is shifting. Like as you said, you could make a texture and then you can just make changes by just typing a different number, and which is so much faster than resculpting it. So I think in game studios, of course, they want to be faster and cheaper. So I guess their things will change a bit more drastically than when you do it for fun. Like I can still see like it's super fun still to like sculpt the texture and then just texture it myself instead of letting like Substance Designer do that. But I'm sure there's going to be some changes in terms of how we use things.
Is it fair to say that's a shame? I don't know how I really think about it when in
No, me neither. Like I'm like right now I'm excited about it, so maybe that will go away. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I'm super excited by Substance. I love Substance. I love most of my portfolio is Substance art. But I do like the part of me, I don't know whether it's a purist thing or what, but I don't I see it as it's a shame because Andrew's work is amazing. Like it really you can tell it's a sculpted texture.
But yeah, you can still see that it's amazing because the work, you can see the work that is put in, and you can see like all the choices and like every little detail is like handmade, and you can see that. And I think it's still like very good art and very good workflow. It's just not as fast, I guess.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I think it might be just a traditionalist in me. I'm like, I don't want to see it go away either. Like, don't get me wrong. The Substance stuff is like from a purely production being, black and white about it. Yeah, it's quicker and it's more iterative. That's great. But I do think when I see the sculpted stuff, I'm like, it's still so cool to see. And the purist in me is just like, I don't want to see it go away, or I don't want to see people less reluctant. The newer people coming into the industry, they're probably going to look on Artstation and just go, okay, well, I make materials. I guess I've got to use Substance Designer. As I'd love to still see people come through using ZBrush and taking that into external packages and paint, even just paint up in Photoshop, for example. I mean, the Blizzard artist, what's her name? Fanny something. She posted her texture tutorial. One of the guys got in the office, and I was just like, God, this is so old school, but it's still so sick.
Oh, but I love that though. Like that's still super cool. Like I also want to buy that one. But that's also like something like when I started out also, and like I was doing the same kind of, or I tried to do the same thing, and it's so much fun. And I think you can still see the difference, or it's hard to get the same quality maybe sometimes in Substance Designer, or rather than doing it like by hand. Yeah. But then maybe you haven't figured it out yet. But I guess at some point we will get there. Or someone figures it out.
I just want to keep seeing that still carry on.
Me too.
Because, like I said, it has that sort of feel to it. It's almost like an IKEA piece of furniture compared to like a antique. It's the antique has character, and like don't be wrong, the IKEA furniture still has design character to it, and it's great. But it's still, as long as there's still a place for the old school, I'm happy, because I do think that like you just get completely different style and vibes from them.
Yeah.
So since we're mentioning like newcomers and stuff, if someone's looking at your portfolio and they're stylized dungeon environment, and they're like, right, I want to be making stuff like that. That's right on my street. That's what I want to do. And you had them ask you directly, like, okay, I want to do that. Where do I start? What's like the first thing? Like, do you say to them like, develop your traditional drawing skills first, develop your like color theory, go jump into ZBrush and start sculpting, learn to model a scene? Like, what? How does a newcomer get to like your how do they get to your style? If that makes sense.
The question makes sense.
It's a big question, I know.
I don't know. It's very hard, I guess. Like when you start, I mean, everyone can probably say that. Like it usually sucks. Like everything you do. Like if you try something for the first time, it's probably always really bad. So I think style comes with time. So I wouldn't worry about that so much, and just like learning all the basics and like whatever programs you need to know. And then like once you know some of the basics, you can kind of start doing things that you're interested in and that you like, or like some kind of style you like, and maybe try to, I don't want to say copy the style, but like do a fan art of something, and then you'll see why does it not look like the thing I wanted to achieve, and then kind of learn from that. And then at some point you're like, okay, cool, I've done all this, and now I try to do my own thing. So it's just like I guess it just takes time.
TV is just one of those things that just comes with like repetition, keep trying to do it, and it will get better and better, you think?
I think so.
Anything for Z? Is there any like I'm going to use ZBrush as the main reference because for me that's the bread and butter. That's like the bones to stylized art. Is there anything in ZBrush you're like, okay, do this, and this? So for example, like all the Blizzard artists, they always on all their models will apply polish and then a clay polish, like, and that's their sort of tip, I guess. Is there anything you say like, oh, okay, this is something I do to all my models, or I use this brush all the time for my models to get this effect? Just for like people starting out wanting to like pick it up. Is there anything like that you could say?
I would like probably what you said earlier on, like just download the org brush. But yeah, I mean, that's not like when I use ZBrush, I don't even do that much usually because all I want is like have some like edges, like some damage or just like some like just less hard edges, and that's almost it. Maybe some cracks, and then you're done. Like the funny thing is, I use it less and less, and I talked about it like to another one who asked me that question. It's like, hey, you want to start stylized art? What do I do in ZBrush? I'm like, I'm actually like, if I think about it, don't use ZBrush that much anymore at all.
Really?
So yeah, I think so. Like at work at least, or like even for my own work, it just takes a lot of time. So you try to, hey, I make a smart material in Substance Painter, and then all I do in ZBrush is maybe apply some edge damage, and that's it.
That's interesting. I'll be honest, I didn't expect you to say that. That's very interesting. Why is that? Do you think you're just really interested in Substance at the moment, or is there like
I don't know. Like I think speed. I think ZBrush is slow, and depending, like I don't know, like if you want to make a prop or like a small diorama, then I would go into ZBrush, like do almost everything. But like if I work on an environment, like something that's big, and I would sculpt like every little thing, then I would take forever.
That's true. That's very true. So it's purely just a necessity then. You've
otherwise it just takes too much time. But like if you do want a prop, go for it. It's so much fun.
Okay, that's true. See, this is the thing I'm not worried about, but like the necessity of working fast and efficiently takes over from like the need to do it the traditional way.
Yeah, I think it's probably just balancing it. Of course, you still wanted to like make good art.
Yeah. So now you obviously you're learning Substance Designer. Actually, no, not learning. You've learned because the materials you're making are sick. So I think learned's a bit unfair to say. Is there any other like packages or pipelines you're like thinking I really want to pick this up in the next year? Is there anything that's caught your eye that you're seriously considering?
I think anything procedural. Like I guess then maybe Houdini at some point. But like I'm still like super interested or super into like anything Substance at the moment.
Yeah,
and it's also being used everywhere, so that's also a good like motive or like what's the word, encouragement to do it, because it's just like so widely spread across the industry and everyone wants to like hire people who do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is an interesting skill set, like being able to generate them type of materials. Just like it's so needed because most workflows hinge on tileable procedural materials.
Yeah, exactly.
What engine is it you play with? Like if you're doing a home project, what engine is your go-to engine?
I use Unreal Engine like almost all the time.
You looked at Unity at all? There's like Unity for this. I've been seeing some really cool scripts for like getting stylized looks in Unity, and I was just curious whether you've seen any of them.
I think for me it's like Unity has always been like in the past has always been like work.
Yeah.
And so I worked like at home. Like I've never worked, well, at least except like for Spyro, but like anything else, I've never used like Unreal Engine for any game. So it feels like more at home being an artist, not having to worry about anything that is like familiar with what I've done at the job already.
That's true. I suppose as wrapping up on, there's one last thing I want to sort of I just want to touch on. Your Artstation challenge. I need to ask, how long did you spend on that? Because the size of it, the quality, all this sort of stuff. I mean, it's got some serious scope to it. Like, it's such a big environment. Like, how much time did you spend on that? Did you plan to do that? Like, did it snowball out of control? Like,
do you mean the Western one, or
the Canyon daytime scene?
Okay.
It's one of my. I love seeing Artstation challenges which are done stylized. I don't know why. I just always think they have a really nice. You're forced into doing a really nice bit of character to them. But this scene is one of the bigger Artstation challenge scenes I've seen. And I'm just curious, like, did you plan for it to be like that? Like, because you had to work super smart with that by the looks of it, because otherwise you'd take forever.
Yeah, I think I've done the night scene, and then that was a bit rushed, and then I took like an extra week or two to do the day lighting and actually like make the lighting a bit better, because I wasn't so happy. But I don't remember how long the time it took. I guess the time, like the challenge was however long that was. You
spent a bit longer then on, so you did the nighttime scene, that was like the submission.
Yeah, I think the nighttime scene I submitted, so that's like the final, and then I was like, okay, I'm not really happy, so I'm just gonna do a day version and fix some things. And I think you can see that as I picked a few angles, was lighting them, and didn't show the whole thing because it didn't look so, because everything was like so clumped together and like very repetitive, because it was so huge and you could really see that. So I only focused like on some smaller areas in there, but which is cool because there was so much to choose from, kind of.
Yeah, you got a lot of room to move. Right, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up here. So, dude, I am super grateful for coming on the podcast. Like I said, I could fanboy all day about your work. It's one of the reasons I got into stylized art. I got into art full stop. Been a big fan for a long time, so thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For everybody who's listening, down below on the Twitch, there's the links to the Artstation, the YouTube channel, Spotify, SoundCloud. Go down, subscribe, follow, like, all of that jazz. And the Artstation, I'll be keeping everyone up to date with the VODs for this podcast and all future podcasts. So thank you very much, dude. Really appreciate it, and hopefully at some point when we'll get you back on again.
Then I have more to tell.
See you in a bit, dude. Thank you, guys. See you in a bit.
Thank you. Bye.